Well, it's only going to be 24 degrees today, 25 tomorrow, and 24. We're not having an autumn. It's just unbelievable at the moment. But, gee, we do need some rain. And Brad, I think right off the top...
We're going to have 14 today.
14. Gee, winter is starting to get your way. We have to acknowledge the very sad news of the passing of Adam Selwood yesterday.
Oh, it just leaves an empty pit in your stomach, Marty. I'm an early riser, as you know, and a couple of hours in front of you guys, and we woke to a text, and it was just basically Selwood with a question mark, and I didn't quite, didn't understand what was going on, but obviously Joel works with our sister station in Melbourne here, 3AW, so word travelled pretty fast, and mate, I was just punch drunk, to be brutally honest. I just so upset. Not only for Adam, but what about the family? I mean, it's just an unbelievable situation to find yourself in when you lose a son 3 months ago, and and then another twin, 3 months later, and similar circumstances. So it's just mind-boggling, mate. And it puts everything in perspective, doesn't it, Mart? We have good days on the punt and we lose and we win, and our footy team wins and loses and all of that sort of stuff. But this is bigger than all of that. And on behalf of yourself and myself, we'd like to send our sincerest condolences out to the Selwood family, no doubt, and the ring of friends and family. You just can't fathom it. You just cannot fathom it.
No, you certainly can't, Brad. And if you're experiencing these sort of dark thoughts, if you're in a bad place, just reach out, find a friend. If you can't, there are professionals out there like Beyond Blue, Lifeline, and just don't be...
Many others.
Yeah, many others, Samaritans as well. But just put your hand up and talk to someone if you are experiencing these sort of these moments in your life. Get the text line going today, 0427 789 571. Big show, normal hour, James Sullivan, Simon Hill, Chris Nelson, Racetrack Ralphy. But after 7 o'clock, your great mate Stephen Michael will join us. Brad?
Fabulous. I'm looking forward to having a chat to TI, an extended chat with him. And we don't get to do that very often. And I'm really, really pleased that he's getting the reverence that he deserves. It's the Pastor Doug Nichols round, the Indigenous round over the next couple of weeks. But this bloke is an ornament. And as I said, if the Indigenous family needed a Prime Minister or someone to lead them, this
National
is the guy,
leader.
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And if you haven't, and I've been pushing this all week, hop onto the AFL. There is about a 15-minute video on there about Stephen Michael as being the honoree of the Sir Doug Nichols round, and it is brilliant. I don't know if you've seen it, Brad, but it features Brian Sikatosco, Paul Fasoli, Mel Brown, and it gives you a great insight into the great man Stephen Michael. And it's going to be a real honour to talk to him. Also, Rob Archibald, Sunshine in Paris, winning one of my favourite races, the Doomben 10,000, and how good was she to win that race yesterday?
Oh, I know, but don't talk to me. I had something a little bit each way.
Rothfire.
Oh.
You didn't get up off the lounge when he sprinted clear, did you?
Mate, I was on air doing the footy, and I was out of my chair. Don't worry.
You got Bruce McInerney.
He's got a hold here. He's got a hold here. Rothfire, we know he's not the horse he was, but I tell you what, his wet track form was outstanding, and his last run was terrific, and mammoth overs. And you and I like to have a little flutter on things that are way over the odds, and it was one. And I thought we're going to hang on here. So just on the line, she showed her true class. So well done, great race. Yeah, absolutely horrible week for AFL footy and just life in general, to be honest, because we've lost three terrific people.
James Sullivan's online. Good morning, Sul.
Hey, Marty. G'day, Brad. Listeners, and can I just endorse that, Brad? It ain't weak to speak, boys. That really knocked me yesterday. The Selwood that knocked me over.
Yep.
Yeah, really did from afar.
Yeah. I don't blame you, Sully, but mate. But the sport goes on, and look, I mean, even the coach McRae held that back from the Collingwood players, the Collingwood club, until after their game yesterday. But I tell you what, did you have a bit of AFL in the NRL yesterday?
Xavier
Coates, was he doing his best impersonation of Tony Modra or what?
he's done it again, hasn't
he?
We all know he has those moments, and I think we've spoke about it in the past. If you're going to pick a rugby league bloke to go straight across, that's currently playing, he is the one that we always talk about. We mentioned Inglis, and I think, Brad, you mentioned Billy Slater there as well. He would have been a good little ruck rover around the back, but this Xavier Cates, he can lead. Mate, we saw some freakish tries. Obviously Xavier Cates, but the one from Mark Nwanga Nitawase on Friday night. How the hell do you hop? How do you hop and kick a ball? But it's been brilliant. And on the back, as I said, people call him Marky Mark, but I'm not going to do that. Nwanga Nitawase. Bradley, I tell you what, Brad, Marty says it beautifully now too.
Oh, he struggles a little bit early.
I was going to say, you have been to the George Danikian School of Pronunciation.
He's very good.
Well, at the end of the day, you know what it's like, Brad, when you do it enough, and if you don't do it right, there's plenty of people who love getting on that keyboard. But it's back to the Xavier Cates thing. He's we know how good he is, and I tell you what, all kudos to Craig Fitzgibbon, because he had the smaller winger on Coates. Young Daniel Atkinson came off the bench, ended up scoring 2 tries, but at the end of the day, he came off the bench. He's not a natural winger. So Mulatolo was moved to counter Coates, because at one stage, obviously, we all know Melbourne were down at half time. What was it, 25-16 at half time? 25-12, sorry, at half time. And we knew all of us, but he moved Mulatolo to take away the threat of Coates. But unbelievable to think, and I love these little stats in rugby league, Marty and Brad. And I did say to the boys on Thursday morning, the Melbourne Storm have struggled at Shark Park. They'd lost their last 3 there. Well, all of a sudden, Sharks are back they hadn't been home since round 4, and now they make it 4 in a row against the Storm. That's a pretty fair effort.
Terrific effort. Yeah, they won that match.
Just before we leave that.
Yep.
Just before they leave that, Marty, I know it's radio, Sully, but just give the listeners who haven't seen the vision a little bit of an indication what happened, because obviously they were going up, approaching the try line, and it was started with a high bomb, into the corner to try and milk the particular try.
Well, it was a 2-hand grab. And he leapt above, like I'm talking, his knees are above the bloke's head when he went up.
Yeah.
So
on his shoulders.
That's the amazing thing. And we know the Melbourne Storm used to train at Princess Park, didn't they, Brad? And they had an affiliation. They were next now. They've moved on to other things. But it's been a big part. It's been a big part of the Melbourne Storm in particular with that marking. And I tell you, the 2-hand grab was the thing I liked. He just had him and was not letting go.
Higher than Joe Cocker, as old Rex used to say. It was a terrific catch and grab, and that final score there, Sharks 31 and the Storm 26. Earlier game, Cowboys 6, Seagulls 24.
Yeah, this blew me away. And it was 6-all at half time, and obviously we saw Jake Travojevic. I tell you what, Laurie Daly, the new State of Origin coach, has been saved. Hasn't he been saved? Because there's a lot of talk about Jake Travojevic, was the captain of New South Wales last year. But was his form going to warrant it? Well, he got dead ringer yesterday. He's out for 2 weeks anyway. But back to this game. Another one that blows me away. The Sea Eagles have gone to Townsville, haven't lost since 2016. I tell you what, the Mad Cow would have been rocking, Brad. They would have had a bit of fun at that afterwards. But, that's a big win, Marty, because they've been a bit lumpy, haven't they?
Yep.
And we know this was only the 3rd time they've been out of Sydney since the start. They had a lot of home games early. They'd been to New Zealand, they'd been to Perth and got beaten. Such an important game that can really set it up for them at the back end of the year. So, and no coincidence, Origin's about. Daly Cherry Evans has his best game for the year.
Yeah. Quick recap from Friday. The Eels 28-6 over the Knights. Bulldogs 24-20 over the Roosters. And a good win by the Warriors yesterday away from home against the Dolphins.
Yeah, that first game, amazing. Zach Lomax's first game back. He had to have a big performance to grab that wing spot. I think he has for New South Wales. He grabbed 2 tries and 4 goals. So 16 points for him. The second game, they did it again, this Bulldog side. The Roosters led 14-0 at half time. On the back of what happened in Canberra last week, the Bulldogs have got not a little bit of self-belief. They got a lot of self-belief. And they come over the top. I thought the Roosters would be close. So 24-20. We threw out 1-12 Friday afternoon on drive, didn't we, Marty?
Yep.
So they got up with that one. And this first game yesterday, Brad, 16-12 full time. It was 10-0 at half time. But right about in the 35th minute, Cape Ball scores a try. It is the worst. It is a blind Freddie could have picked up the knock-on. It's the worst knock-on I have seen. And was given. Oh, dear. Yeah. But the Warriors, only 2 losses. They're going along nicely.
So the Bulldogs from here, they seem to be the team that everyone's going to have to beat, aren't they?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head, and they've still got 6 out. Like they've realistically got 6 blokes that could play first grade that are still injured. And the depth of the club, I sort of see it a fair bit because I've got a boy there. And it's a belief, it's a system. They use that word system, boys, all the time, that they all believe in. And they all, from their 17s right through, it's the same system. So it's next man up. That's probably the attitude.
Yep.
When a bloke gets injured, mate, it is going to be hard to see. So at the moment, just ticking all the boxes.
Because they're $4 outright to win it with Storm. Storm, to me, their consistency worries me a little bit, Sol.
Yeah, consistency is a problem. And they got a little bit angry last night. It's the first time I've seen Jerome Hughes fire up a little bit. They're still not at their best. We know that. But, you got to come up against these side. And as we just said before about this Bulldog side, when they're down, they've still got a belief they can score points.
Yep.
The Storm last night did have their opportunities. I was so impressed last night. I know he's a sometime forgotten player, but gee whiz, he was good Talakai last night, the big boy coming off the bench of the Sharks. So at the moment, it's anybody's to win.
Right. Let's have a look at these 3. We've got 3 today, Sal.
Yep.
Broncos. What do we do with this mob? 130. St George are at 355. The line 10.5. Raiders 133. Titans 340. Again 10.5. And West Tigers 187. Rabbits 195. 1.5.
Yeah, well, 3 intriguing games, and as we know, the Broncos have lost 4 of their last 5. They get Ezra Mam back. I think that's the spark they need.
Yep.
St George have won 7 of their past 9 against the Bronx, but they get the jitters when they go to Queensland. They're 3 from 23 in Queensland, Brad. What is going on?
Yeah.
Most people like going to Queensland.
I do.
Yeah, I do. 2 p.m. game. I'm going to go to the Bronx. I think, as I said, I think Ezra Mam will bring that. Just that spark they need. The next game, well, boys, it's going to be 7 degrees come kick-off in Canberra. We got the snap happened. Titans boys won't know what's going on. Raiders have won 10 of their past 11. I'm going to go the Raiders to bounce back, and then the most intriguing game, their 10th v 11th. Tigers, after last week's humiliation, take on a Rabbitohs who I thought had their best win of the year. So probably going to, and the Rabbitohs have won 8 of their past 10 v Tigers. So I'm going to have a little play there and go. I'll pick the Rabbits.
Yeah, good stuff. Before you give us all your plays, just quickly on the Broncos. I mean, Kevy Wallace was levelled at him that he was too soft on the players, and now Madge's come in and he's too hard on them. So what's going on?
Yeah, they've got to find that happy. They've got to find that happy medium, haven't they? At the end of the day, I'll tell you what. I'm going to put the blowtorch on one bloke because he's been moved from lock to front row. There's not a lot of difference the way you play in rugby league. Lock to front row. Patrick Carrigan needs to pull it, pull his you-know-what out because he's been lazy. He's had a bit to say. Payne Haas has been doing his job. We've got Origin just around the corner. Watch out for Carrigan today. Have a big game.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Are we going to make a quid today?
Oh, we've got him back, Sal.
Hey.
Sorry about that,
What
boys.
the
Sorry about
hell's
that.
going on, man?
So we're going to go Broncos 7+,
Yeah.
Raiders 7+, Rabbitohs just to win at $4.78, Katoni Stags and Hudson Young, $5.27. We'll just go them, and then we'll throw in Kolomatangi from the Rabbitohs.
Okay.
So Stags, Young, Kolomatangi, $22.12.
Okay, so well done, mate. We've got to keep moving. Thanks for that.
I know, Sully.
There he goes, James Sullivan, and Simon Hill's about to join us on. Gee whiz, Simon. A very good morning. FA Cup. What the hell has happened here? 1-0 Crystal Palace.
Yeah, not a good morning in my household, let me tell you. Missing half a night's sleep to watch that rubbish this morning. We were not good. Missed the penalty.
Yep.
Omar Marmoush. Very controversial decision as well, not to send off Palace keeper Dean Henderson. who, in fairness, made a couple of really good saves as well. The handling outside his penalty area, I don't quite know what VAR is there for if that's not a red card. But anyway, look, to be fair, City had nearly 80% possession of the ball, and it was like a training session at times, attack versus defence. But as has been the case on so many occasions this season, they just couldn't find a way through. So congratulations to Palace. Eberici Eze with the only goal. A counter-attack, of course it was. That's City conceded many goals this season. And fought a superb rearguard action to win their first ever trophy in their history. So they deserved it. And City trophyless for the first time since 16-17. And apart from those two big moments, I don't think we can have too many complaints, to be honest.
Morning, Simon. It's more about today. Marty will take you through those games shortly, but I don't think Tottenham played yesterday, did they? But Chelsea 1-0 over Man United.
Yeah, another defeat for Manchester United. Good job they've got the Europa League final. I think I read somewhere that Ruben Amorim has got a worse points per game average since taking over than the bottom three clubs. It's been a horrific Premier League season for them, and they're only fortunate, really. Spurs the same, to be honest, that the bottom three are so far behind. Otherwise, they could have well been going into this final weekend, next weekend, looking at, needed to win to stay up. But anyway, it's a big win for Chelsea as well. Of course, they're still in the hunt for the Champions League spots, and they jump into the top five with that win. So it's all bubbling along nicely ahead of the games today, and then the final round of the season next weekend.
I know you're not a great fan. I just got to go back because I've had a look at some photos of that handball from the keeper. His whole arm is outside of the box. You can't. Yeah. What is VAR there for, if not for that?
Well, I mean, look, in mitigation, the only thing that you can say that there's a couple of factors they need to take into consideration. Distance from the goal is one. I don't think that's an issue for this. The direction of the play, whether the ball is going wider, and also the position of the Palace defenders, how close they are to the goalkeeper. Now, you can sort of make an argument that they're in close proximity, but really, if a goalkeeper is handling the ball outside the box to take the ball away from the striker who is, almost through on goal, for me, I think that has to be a red card. But and again, look, I've got no issue with the referee's on-field decision. He's got a split second to think about it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have VAR, then really you've got to stick to the letter of the law. So yeah, that was a big moment. And again, I don't want it to sound like sour grapes because, quite frankly, City were awful this morning.
Right.
And I've got no issue with Palace winning the cup, but I've never really been a fan of VAR, and this morning did not change my mind.
Just quickly on Palace, tell us about, have they ever won FA Cup before? When did they win it before? And this is a great boost for that club.
Never won the FA Cup before, never won a trophy before in history going back well over 100 years. So this is a seismic day for them. And they're a great club. They're a very famous old club in southeast London. They battled along in the lower divisions for much of their existence, but the appointment of Oliver Glasner and the acquisition of some of the players that they've got, one or two, I think, might even, strangely enough, find their way to Manchester City, including the goal scorer last night, Eze. They've got a very combative squad. They're solid defensively, and they've got pace on the counter-attack. And that's how they scored the goal. Munoz on the right-hand side, the super player as well. So they've had a good season in the league, mid-table, which is probably about their limit, given the financial gap between them and the big clubs. Winning a cup is really the goal for those clubs. And the fact that they've managed to do it after so many years. I know a few Palace fans back home, and I'm delighted for them, although I'm gutted for my club.
Okay, we'll go through these 5 Sunday games. Everton plays Southampton. They're $1.41, Everton, after that surprise win last week. $4.60 the draw and $8 for Southampton. Everton win this?
They should do. And, of course, this is going to be a really emotional occasion today. This is Everton's last ever game at Goodison Park. They've played nearly 3,000 matches there, played there for, well over 100 years.
Wow.
So they're moving to this new stadium at Bramley Moor Dock, which is going to be known as the Hill Dickinson Stadium because it's some legal firm is sponsoring it. It's not exactly the catchiest name. Great new venue, but Goodison Park is one of the real atmospheric old football stadiums in England. So there's going to be a lot of tears shed today. I can't see Southampton upsetting the party, although, again, I must say, I remember in 2003 when City left Main Road, and our last game was against Southampton, and they beat us 1-0. So they have got a habit of party pooping. But I think the emotion of the occasion will see Everton over the line today.
West Ham 280, draw 330, Notts Forest 255.
Yeah, this is a big one for Forest. They're sort of in the last chance saloon. They've been so good this season, been in the top four for almost all of it. But they've slipped out of those Champions League spots on the back of a run of only one win in their last 6 Premier League matches. So they've got to win today. They've got a couple of injuries as well. Anthony Elanga is out, and they've got one or two others too. But yeah, it's going to be tough for them today, I fancy, because they've just had that dip at the wrong point of the season. West Ham ended a run of 8 without a win by defeating Manchester United at Old Trafford last time out. I wouldn't be surprised if this one ends in a draw, to be honest. So
put the draw in there, 330. Now, Brentford, can they go in their winning way? $2, 365 draw, Fulham 350.
Yeah, fancy Brentford today. Nice West London derby in the sunshine. So nice weather in London, apparently. The Bees are on a 4-game winning streak. 5 would equal their best ever in the top flight, set all the way back in 1939. A couple of individuals going for records. Brian Mbeumo and Johan Wissa, 2 terrific strikers who they'll do well to keep in the off-season. Both chasing Ivan Toney's seasonal club record of 20 goals. They're both too shy at the moment. And Fulham have, similar to Nottingham Forest, just had a dip really at the wrong point of the season. So their European challenges faded. They've lost 4 of their last 5 league games. So I think Brentford will be a little too strong, particularly with home advantage today.
Leicester 230, draw 365, Ipswich 295.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough as well, although if I was going to put money on it, I would be tipping a draw because each of the last 3 meetings have ended 1-1 between these 2 clubs. Leicester and Ipswich, of course, are going to be playing in the Championship next season, both relegated. Another emotional occasion, Jamie Vardy is going to play his 500th and final match for Leicester. He's not going to be involved in the final day game against Bournemouth, and he's looking for his 200th goal for the club. So that's a little milestone for Jamie Vardy. Ipswich, who have not beaten Leicester away in the top flight since 1980, they need a win to avoid their lowest points haul in a single season in their entire history. It all points to a draw for me.
Okay. And final game we'll look at is Arsenal, $2, draw 355, Newcastle 370.
I think there's some value in Newcastle winning at the Emirates. Arsenal have again, had an awful end to the season. Winless in their last 4 matches at home, no win in 5 in all competitions. And Newcastle have beaten Arsenal 3 times already this season, and they of course, need to win to essentially secure Champions League football. Arsenal still need a point, strangely, given that they've been second all season, to be certain of Champions League qualification. They've got 4 teams now within 3 points of them after that poor run at the end of the season. And this one's got a bit of extra spice. I see the paper reports this week linking Arsenal to moves for Alexander Isak and Anthony Gordon during the off-season, which has rather irked Eddie Howe, who feels that Newcastle should be up there challenging along with Arsenal. So they've got a big point to prove today. I've just got a sneaky feeling they might do it.
And Simon, on the domestic front, the A-League, the first of the 2 legs of the semi-finals, Melbourne City authoritative over Western United 3-0, and of course Auckland 1-0 over Victory.
Yeah, last night's game at Amy Park, Victory Auckland, was, I guess you call it a typical performance by the Premiers. One goal in it, Logan Rogerson on 64 minutes, and Auckland didn't allow Victory a single shot on target in the entire 90 minutes. That's what their success this season has been, built upon a very strong defence. I think they've got a favourites now to finish the job with the second leg to come at home in front of a full house at Mount Smart Stadium. The other one was a bit of a surprise on Friday night. So I was calling this one again at Amy Park. I had a sneaky feeling that Western United might turn City over, but City's greater experience perhaps shown in finals football. They're absolutely clinical in their finishing. And from the moment they went in front from Guillermo Ferreira's header from Tilio's corner, you sense that Western were going to struggle to get back in the game. City haven't lost this season when they scored first. Beautiful second goal by Jonathan Cohen, curling into the top corner. And then Matt Leckie's first goal in 18 months, making it 3-0. So it's a real uphill task for Western in the second leg. It's a pity that they weren't able to play their home leg, in inverted commas, at Ironbark Fields. But that's a decision made by Victoria Police due to security concerns. But that's something we've got to sort out as a league. We had the bizarre situation on Friday of the home team, Western, playing effectively away, and Melbourne City, the away team, playing at home. And that's just been a two-link semi.
Hey, Simon, that multi, Everton to win, draw, Brentford win, draw, Newcastle, $124 for our punters. So let's hope you drop that one on them on this Sunday.
Well, I need a bit of luck after the cup final.
Yep. All the best, Simon.
Right on, Simon.
Guys.
There he is, Simon Hill, down at the mouth after Man City were rolled over by Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. If you hadn't caught up with that news, 1-0 to Palace.
Sunday morning, Tab Radio Racing and Sport is turned on. And you are listening to the dulcet tones of Marty Young and Brad Hardie on the Aftermath.
Chris Nelson joins us too. G'day, Chris.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Brad. I'm guessing you guys aren't talking football this morning.
Oh, no, you are. You sent me that picture of Marty. He's sitting in front of his desk here with
Have we
his
said anything about it?
on, his flag. He's ready to go this afternoon. He's all ready to go.
I'm thinking of poor old Marty and what your mob did to them last night.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from.
No, we're not talking footy.
No, I know where you're coming from. Let's go to race number 5 at Doomben yesterday. It was a big day. Now, tell us about this track. It got to a heavy 8. It looked like you didn't want to be anywhere near the fence.
Yeah, pretty much the case. And look, it was a heavy 8 after race 1, and they made that retrospective to race 1. So the times they were running were, I've got some averages here, and they were anywhere between 3.5 outside those averages. And those averages aren't for like Group 1 races. So it was definitely in the heavy range, could have even been worse. J-Mac didn't give it a big rap after race 1. So, yeah, you need to be off the fence. And look, and we get to some of these races, and there were some ranked failures, particularly in that last race, the Rough Habit. I think you've just got to put it down to the track. I don't think you can really sack anything that didn't perform up to normal standard yesterday.
Okay, Coolachi for Chris and Corey Muntz. What a day they had. Martin Harley beats Gallo Nero and Grafter Burners. There were some runs here.
Yeah, Grafter Burners was a big one. Sat 4 wide, no cover the entire trip, and he still looked like he might win, a couple of 100 metres from home, and he only went down half a length on the line. So his run was outstanding. He's probably, Coolachi keeps winning. He may be the best 2-year-old we got up here at the moment, but I think Grafter Burners has probably got him covered fair and square when they go forward, but when they go up in distance. But Coolachi is such a professional. He just keeps on winning. He finds the line. He's sort of flying under the radar each time. And, it was $8 yesterday. Gallo Nero was good running on. Grafter Burners we've mentioned. Then there was a bit of a gap, a further, 2 lengths to the next few. High Barbie ran on from the back. She was better. And I did think United States was a bit of an eye-catcher. He's obviously heading to the size, and the JJ will be his aim. And, yeah, he did nothing wrong yesterday, United States.
I'm the cheerleader for Gallo Nero. Is he the Mark Waugh of racing? When he's on, he's majestic.
He looks really good.
How many times did he look like he was going to win that race yesterday?
Yeah, I know, he did. He did look as though he had them covered. But stick with him, Brad. You know what they say, if you stick long enough, you'll get something out of them.
Yeah, well, it was a big push for this one, first up, Sedelius. And I thought, could be a bit of trouble here at the furlong, but, oh, my God.
Yep.
that last 100 metres, that last 50 metres, he was dominant, wasn't he? And he's a horse that's going to get out, obviously, over further. They bought him with the Melbourne Cup in mind. So this is a horse we'll probably see again in the Q22 up here, and then that'll be it. And we'll see him in the spring, and who knows, he might be another Without a Fight. But I know he only beat Floating and Man Joyce and those horses, but what he did over the last 100 metres to the eye was the part that we take out of that race. So we definitely follow him going forward.
Yeah, I think they paid $2.7 million for him, and the horses in training. Tattersall Sale comes out of a pretty Arc de Triomphe and looks to be their horse for the Melbourne Cup. We go to the Bright Shadow. Joe Pride, I heard him in an interview, I think Tuesday or Wednesday. He said, I hope that rain comes for Doomben because In Flight loves it.
Yep. I think she's now 4 from 6 on heavy tracks. That's the Hawkesbury form, that Gold Rush form of In Flight, and Kin came to the fore yesterday. I thought Kin did a good job. Obviously not as well suited on heavy ground as In Flight. Did a good job to be beaten less than 2 lengths into second. As for the rest, Midnight in Tokyo just does what Midnight in Tokyo does. She got back and she ran on. I thought Navy on the Highway had every possible chance. It's a couple of average runs for mine this prep. Had a good trip, but all honours there with In Flight. Should she strike more wet tracks during the carnival, she's the one to be with.
Oh, race 8, the 10,000. The Doomben 10,000, great race historically for a long, long time. And I think everybody who didn't have a ticket on Sunshine in Paris was barracking for Rothfire.
Gee, what a warrior he is. I mean, we all just think he's gone. Every time he comes up, we think, oh, that's it, he won't come up this prep. He's past it. But the steward's report says he sat 3 wide, no cover. I'm telling you, he sat 4 wide, no cover the entire trip. And I mean, being off the fence in the straight was okay, but you don't want to be facing the breeze early on and mid-race to the turn. So his run was absolutely huge, Rothfire. Sunshine in Paris had Rothfire's back on the home turn and was able to just outdo him late. Gee, Payline was a run at $51. I reckon if Payline had got clear running earlier, he may have even won the race.
Unbelievable.
To be made.
Yeah, and Chris Muntz threw it out after he'd won that earlier race and said, this is the best 100-to-1 shot I've ever taken to the races, Payline. And it could have easily won that race. By Shooting to Win, who stands here in WA too, Oakland Park, great stallion, nearly gets a Group 1 placing.
Yeah, well, and that was an outstanding run. Benedetta was a pass mark. I thought she was just in an awkward spot on the turn. She just lost a bit of momentum and a bit of ground there when Sunshine in Paris sort of was on the go, and she was sort of left a bit standing. So her run was good. Schwartz 3 wide, no cover. Nothing else there. A few failures there, but I think all honours with the winner. She's the best horse. Well, not all honours. All honours probably with Rothfire. He was huge, but Sunshine in Paris had the better run.
And everybody would have had the winner of the last one out in the quaddie.
Yep.
Oh, well, I can tell you. I'll give my mate Nathan Exelby a rap here. He tipped Imperialist last start. He said, I think this has got a great chance at odds. Didn't do a lot, but they took the blinkers off this week. They went forward with a change of tactics, and home it goes at $61. I don't know what we take out of this race. Deep Focus ran second at $81. And we've got these horses that come out of these strong races in Sydney during the autumn. Belle de Tel was okay late. She ran on quite okay. Firm Agreement did absolutely nothing, and there was nothing in the steward's report, no abnormalities found there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether it was just the wet track or whatever, but Shangri-La Spring, Firm Agreement, very disappointing. Belle de Tel was okay. Maison Louis was probably a nice-looking run for a Derby from a Derby viewpoint.
Okay, we go to Scone. It was a massive day there, day 2 of their carnival. And have you ever been to that carnival, Chris?
No, I haven't, actually. It looks a really good track.
Looks a good carnival. I think you'd have some fun there. I think we all should rock up there next year, Bradley, make a trifecta of it, cause a bit of chaos.
Yeah, let's go.
Now,
outside broadcast?
Race number... No outside broadcast. Woodland Stakes, race number 3, sponsored by Yarraman Park. Now, it was Stardom winning Waterhouse Spot. They had a terrific day, both in New South Wales and Queensland. One off the text line here from Larry. Ask Chris, what do you think about the run of the 8th horse?
Do you want me to talk about the name of it?
Yes.
Talk about the run, because I can't even pronounce it. Yeah, it was a really good run.
No, tell us about the winner, Stardom.
Well, Stardom's 2 from 3, very, very progressive. Nice win on speed, but I think all honours here were with Acacia from the back of the field. Way too far back. I know drew wide, so they got little option then to go back, but gave him a massive start. And probably just peaked 50 metres, 100 metres from the line, but it is one you want to follow. And I think you need to follow that first horse as well. So that should be a good form race going forward. We'll follow the first horse, third horse, and even the eighth horse. Just from
Denise's Joy was viewpoint. Yeah, exactly. The Denise's Joy was race 7, and this wasn't as mad as the price would suggest. Summer Flame.
You know, I was just looking at that this morning, Brad. I had a look back at the form. I only had 3 starts and wasn't disgraced at any of them. They're all good runs, trained by Chris Waller. We don't see many Chris Waller horses go off at $61, let alone win. So, we might have missed one there. I thought the second horse was really good. Gong just got further back, didn't jump well. You'd expect he'd be closer in the run, but he wasn't. Yet he wound up and ran on really well late. So he's worth following, as is Thames, number 3, who ran third. And Photograph, a stablemate to Thames, didn't get a lot of room in the straight. But beware, there was 1.7 lengths between the first 9 across the line there.
Race 8, the Hortensia, a horse we know so well over here in the West, over the 1,100 metres, and Björn Baker has Caballas since the old gelding operation, just flying for Ashley Morgan.
Yep. Yeah, that was the key. They gelded him. He drew an inside gate. That was the place to be, nearer the inside, up on speed, and he came through late He came through in plenty of time and then held off, outgunned the Novelist, who was a good run first up on speed. Pisanello was a nice run here. Pisanello, back in the field from the wide gate, weaved home really well. Someone's going to text in about that in a minute too.
Glad you said it.
I'll probably be off here next week. That'll be the text.
I just threw up a vision there. That just threw up a vision of me, a Caramello Bear standing behind a tree.
That's very good, Bradley. Very good.
Yeah. So I'll follow Pisanello there, guys.
In the Dark Jewel Classic, race number 9, and Scott Singleton won for the locals at $41. Melody again beats Written in Code, the fave.
Now, if you were on Written in Code in this race and you're sitting there watching the 300-metre mark, you would have put everything you owned on this horse. Braithnock was sitting there as quiet as can be, and he had not moved. And he did, and thought, here we go. And look, did dash a little bit, but unfortunately couldn't get away from Melody again, who was able to run Written in Code down on the line, or half a length on the line. So back to Dark Glitter third, then there was a long gap back to the rest of them. So Written in Code, a win is not far away, or another win's not far away, but gee, you had the money spent there.
Brad, you weren't on Written in Code, would you?
Of course I was. I had the first 4. I mean,
What did you think, Brad?
Well, I was hoping the winner would come through for second, because that was the value in and that's how you roll with those first 4s. And the went past me like I was nailed to the fence,
We've got
horses to follow.
Yeah, horses to follow. We've got Rob Archibald coming on too after about 7:30. Yeah, it'd be great. What a day it was for them as well. So horses to follow.
What a run they're having.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a run they're having.
Says something about getting married, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'll say. It's worked for him, that's for sure. For afterburners in United States out of the 5th, Sedalius will just keep backing him.
Yep.
Scone, Gong out of race 7, and Pisanello out of race number 8. We're on a poly track today at the Sunny Coast, guys, and there's a lot of odds on here, so I won't give you any tips today.
Good man. Thanks, Chris. We'll tune in on Wednesday.
Look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
He's a beauty, Chris Nelson.
Chris, he's a beauty.
Does his best work on the aftermath, though. Don't worry about that. How good
where the odds on can get beat is North Queensland. They invent ways of getting beat up there.
Oh, yeah. No, that NRL, I know the AFL, we'll talk about it in full after 7, but, gee, the NRL's topsy-turvy. How good was Macram, best for the day, stormed down the inside rail to win easily, and second best tip was Speed Dream at Belmont. Maybe I'm the best tipster in the world. Who is this? Gee, it's Scott.
Jim Pommy Pie.
No, it's Scott.
Oh, no,
come on, Jim Pommy Pie, you'll beat that. Send a text in.
So that was a great get by Scotty. It was a great get, because that's the way it read up on the form guide, actually. It said, it got back last, it just couldn't go around a horse. And yesterday, of course, the only one I left out, buddy.
Yeah.
Macram.
Yeah. A Racetrack Ralphy is coming up.
Oh, this is the height of optimism. Is he on the line yet?
No, but he's at the airport ready to go to Brisbane. What, is he lost his mind?
On the Aftermath, you are listening to Marty Young and Brad Hardie on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Racetrack Ralphy.
Marty.
Where is he?
He's got the quaddy.
It's got to be a free trip. Has to be a free trip.
He had the favourite one out in the last. He's gone field. Favourite, surely. Hey?
Good morning, boys.
I bet you what he didn't.
Where are you?
Hey.
Well, look, I didn't get the quaddie, but I was just reflecting 166,000 to 1. It's pretty similar odds to the D's this afternoon as I'm about to get together.
Oh, well.
Business class as well. Unbelievable.
No, and I'll tell you, I'm in the public, Brad. I just asked for my usual quail eggs and salmon roe, and they said on the bacon egg with muffin if you want one.
Hey, Ralphie.
Oh,
Ralphie,
God.
it wasn't the greatest of meetings yesterday at Flemington, I've got to say that. But you did win your way into a Melbourne Cup.
Yeah. Well, look, it'll start triple figures, and as if 100 to 1 shot could ever win Melbourne Cup. I mean, that hasn't happened since.
Yeah.
Okay, last November. Yeah, but apart from that. Oh, no. They were getting in without names, bar that last winter, as you said, Brad, and it was just an impossible sort of day. No one's fault, of course. Flemington, it's been bizarre. They've had a few meetings where the rain just kept at it, and no fault of the track, but they're getting up without names. I'd say politely done. That is going to run very well in the Queensland Derby. I black booked it for you guys after it ran second to Statuario, then it was Lucas in the South Australian Derby. That's actually a horse I'm very interested in. I reckon it's going to run a big race in the Queensland Derby. The rest of the day, though, was a bit of carnage. Libertad had been running well. Macram and Pounding came off that Pride of Jenny race, so probably a good lesson there to always or be careful of underestimating horses off high-pressure races. And the other one, of course, was No Fuss being beaten at odds on. That was just a race to avoid because, look, the horse hadn't been seen on soft ground and hadn't been seen up the straight, and people wanted to take $1.90. I think that's a good opportunity is where you should say out.
Ditto in race 6, King Zephyr. I think there were a few that were keen to take it on, and any excuses, but down the outside.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
So down the outside, that's where they sort of needed to be. That appeared to be where the fast lane was as the day went on.
Yeah, well, I mean, Clayton Douglas, what two of the winners, Title Fighter and Macram, have got in common? They've been very good at winning at big odds and, just handled the wet. I think Lim Saltoro from Singapore, ran quite well, so it's going to be a competitive beast through the winter. But as you know, Brad, it's been a bizarrely dry late autumn period, but it just happened to cop it yesterday. So the track was a bit of a mess, and hence the results had so much variance to them.
Ralphie, you got the figures of the Doom 10,000 there?
The figures haven't gone through, but I did the meeting in full, and I just thought it worth reflecting on a couple of learnings for punters. And I didn't think there was much between Benedetta and Sunshine in Paris, but it just shows you it's easier to be unlucky than it is to win. And when you've been up for so long, like Benedetta had, and there's no criticism whatsoever of Jason Warren, but just the challenge of trying to keep a horse up and up and up. Whereas there was some real set to peak about the Nisham/Archibald runner in Sunshine in Paris, and didn't the robots get hold of it with the World Pooling operation?
Yep.
I think it started $2.80, and a big shout out to Robbie Heathcote too. What an amazing job he's done with Rothfire, and what that horse could have been without the injuries that it had, but it just peaked on the day. And again, that's sort of the challenge in those big races. It's a good fielder, isn't it? No different to the Quokka with Joker's Grin. Just look at those horses that are set to peak. And, Bellamy Patina last year was the exception, and it's a good reminder that some horses can keep going at the best, but really in big races you're better off focusing on the set to peak type horses.
I know you don't really have too many horses to follow, but that winner of the last at Flemington yesterday, Liberami, was never in doubt, was it? But it's obviously going through the grades very nicely. Is there a feature win in him somewhere down the track?
Well, look, that's why I got myself confused when I said No Fuss. So the two horses that came through the Sandown midweekers that had genuine talent were No Fuss and King Zephyr, and it ran second to both of them. And then I don't know if it was Jai just got the compass wrong or what happened at Bendigo, because he was just in completely the wrong part of the track. I think earlier in the day it wasn't as established that you had to be against the fence, so he was luckless then. Then when he won at Sandown, it was a leader bias track, and he did a good job to be able to get up under that circumstance. So he wouldn't be the worst chance in a winter championship type campaign, because he handles wet ground and he was good there. I should also just go back to Doomben there. Sir Delius, boys, I think this is a serious horse, and can't help thinking that it's incentivised and obviously without a fight have come through this carnival. I think he's going to acquit himself very well in the Melbourne Spring, and I know you can say if you just looked at it and say he just beat Floating. Well, Floating's had the perfect run. Imperialist won the last race, apples to apples. He's run 12 lengths faster than Imperialist and run a faster last 600 and got out of trouble with the 60 kilos and first Australian start. I think this is such an outstanding horse. And Sir Gallo of Team Hawks too in the 2-year-old. I think it just needs further and needs Eagle Farm. I think it's going to be the ideal type of horse, 1400 the mile for that horse too going forward.
And just on Sedelius is only getting warm in the last 100 metres. You stretch that out another 400 metres, it wins by plenty.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the Q22 is an obvious, and then except for the Melbourne Cup, but looking at all the narrative afterwards, it seems like they got the full circle around the Melbourne Cup. Won't be interested in anything else. That might also mean that they go to the Cox Plate Melbourne Cup path rather than worry about the Caulfield Cup too. So, yeah, I think that's the horse to really focus in for this meeting, both in Melbourne and Queensland yesterday.
Thanks, Ralphie.
Good on you, boys.
I think that's the housekeeping all done and dusted. One from the text line. You haven't mentioned the state game. WA have beaten South Australia in Adelaide 13-8-86. South Australia 8-8-56, brother. What about that?
Yeah, that's fantastic. It hasn't been done for a while, so we were following that as around the grounds yesterday and hoping that the boys could get the job done, and they did it, and they did it in fine style. So that is brilliant. Played the Adelaide Oval, and I'm not sure exactly. Somebody did win a Simpson medal, but I'm not sure his name escapes me. But I'm sure they will. Somebody will SMS that in who may have been able to take in the game in some shape or form. So brilliant. Brilliant state footy, and look, some of these young blokes, and some have already played a little bit of AFL, but some may never get to play AFL when they're playing for the state. But it's a great crowning glory in their own careers to be representing Western Australia and South Australia in the state game. It's brilliant.
Ryan Borchert kicked 4 goals for WA, and Lachlan Hosey kicked 4-2 for South Australia. But that's a great win, predicted too by our man Passionate Paul on Drive on Wednesday, Paul Persick. He was very confident that WA went in as underdogs, Brad, because they took a relatively younger side across. They said, right, we're going to start again. Line in the sand type as far as picking a side was concerned, and they may have got it right. So good luck to them too, because as you just said, it doesn't happen too often.
No, it doesn't, and it's good. Sometimes you've got to take a calculated risk, and sometimes you want to err on the side of caution and go for the tried and true, and maybe a few older players, who I did remember reading an article where a couple of blokes were overlooked, and, that noses may have been slightly out of joint, but that's the way of the world, mate. You sort of, when you're talking this sort of state footy, you certainly got to promote the youth. Good thing. Okay,
just having trouble getting a hold of Stephen Michael at the moment.
Well, he's been like Elvis at the moment.
He's been
all
everywhere.
Over the place. He's been to Darwin, and he came back, and then I think he's off to Melbourne this week. He's going to be on the front bar next Wednesday night for those who are keen. So, yeah, he's obviously had a little bit of a sleep in, the great man. But we'll endeavour to get him. We'll find him.
Okay,
yes.
Now, Brad, let's start on our games yesterday, and the first of them. Always a close game between Collingwood and Adelaide at the MCG.
Yeah.
It ended up Collingwood. They just pinched a gap when the rain came down. 11-12-78 beat Adelaide, who went, they tried all the way to the line, 10-8-68.
Yeah, it was interesting because it was a chalk and cheese sort of selection. The strength of Adelaide has been their midfield and their forward line, and they still went tall. Walker really didn't have much to offer yesterday. Tilthorpe, Fogarty was terrific, and you had Rankin and Jordan. In the middle, they were going really, really well. But Collingwood just loved it when the rain came, Marty, particularly in the red time in the third quarter.
Yep.
They just adapted to the conditions a little bit more. I didn't think they had the energy levels. I thought, they're looking a bit flat here. But in that red time in the third quarter, they really put the pedal to the metal and was able to put a few goals on the board and just made the job a little bit harder for the Adelaide Crows to get back in. They'd be getting a bit frustrated. They didn't lose any fans yesterday, though, the Crows, no. I must admit. But Collingwood continue on in their winning ways, minus Darcy Moore, of course. But they played really, really well. It was a good game to do and a good game to watch, and both will be fancied to sort of figure highly in September.
67,000 people there. Josh Dacos, Maynard, Nick Dacos. He's obviously carrying some sort of an injury, isn't he, Nick? What's going on there with him?
Yeah, he's got a few issues, a hip flexor, and, he's just not sort of covering the ground like he would normally do. And, that comes with, overworked and, obviously getting a lot of attention from the opposition, etc. So, but they were strong in the end, Collingwood, and they're the masters of the sliding door moments, aren't they? As I say, they win a lot more of the tight ones than they lose, that's for sure.
Yeah, they are absolute masters at that. Then Geelong, 17-13, 115, beat Port 5-9, 39. It was a close game early, and then the Cats just blew them away. Tell us what happened here.
Yeah, well, I fancy the Cats. I just say that's their second home away from home. They played really well at the Adelaide Oval. And obviously they've got quite a few issues at the moment, Port, and they lost Horn Francis early, who's been a chief playmaker for them for most of the season. But having said that, Dangerfield went down as well. Mm-hmm. So, it was 1 for 1, either end of the spectrum. But they just accomplished the Cats. It's quite remarkable. They'd be smarting, as I said, they would be smarting from the week before when the Giants up-eviled them for the 5th time in a row at home. So you knew they were going to come out. But it was mainly after half-time. Jeremy Cameron was starved with 7. And, they just totally overran Port Adelaide. And you just wonder, they're just holding on, Port, aren't they? They just look like it's 3 on the bounce now, heading to Fremantle next week. So they've got to do some really, really quick refigurement, because at the moment they look like they're nearly out the fight. As
you mentioned, injuries all round. So Port have lost Sin with a hip, Horn Francis hamstring, Jones with a hamstring, Dangerfield hamstring. Apparently not as bad as Bowe's hamstring was a bad one. So that was according to Coach Chris Scott after the match, having a listen to that interview. So Cats can be a little bit hot and cold. And another team that I sent you a text, are GWS becoming a little bit conditional? Because all of a sudden last week against Geelong down there at GMHBA Stadium, they played sensational football, probably lucky to win.
Yeah.
However, yesterday, they just didn't have the effort, the energy wasn't there. And kudos to Fremantle Dockers, because they went away from home, 30 shots to 21. They won 13-17-95, 8-13-61 GWS.
Yeah, fair play to Fremantle. It was a terrific performance by them, and they had to go there with a game plan. And as we said, they needed to go into the game as the hunter, and I think they did that really, really well. I think they identified who they thought they needed to at least break even with in regards, to Tom Green, Toby Green, Jesse Hogan, those sort of blokes. And, they were able to quell that, and they played as a team. And that's what they haven't been doing. There was, a constant fold back in regards to clogging up, where Jesse Hogan got a bit frustrated at times. He couldn't get any positioning where he'd like to lead to the ball. And again, the Giants weren't at their best, but Fremantle didn't allow them to be at their best. So it was a good win. They've been against the grain. They've been disappointing, Fremantle. And just a caution, one game doesn't make a footy season. We all have our highs and lows, but the Giants were really, they just looked like Adelaide a few weeks ago, Marty, over against Fremantle. They just couldn't handle the ball. They turned it over. They were fumbling. But that was referred pressure, genuine pressure from Fremantle that made that happen. But I'm with you. I think now they are vulnerable at that bottom end of the 8. There's other teams in the competition now who've skipped away, unfortunately, from the GWS Giants.
I think from the Dockers' point of view, it was important 2 of their big name signings played well. It was Bolton, he was terrific, and also Jackson as the lone ruckman also played one of his best game of the season.
Shouldn't play again.
No.
Yeah, Darcy shouldn't play again. In that regard, that's been a big contentious point for a number ever since they got him back. With how that works. But you've just seen how he enjoys his freedom when he's out and around the ground and up against Briggs. He should be beating him. But the bottom line is that around the ground, it's the Dean Cox style ruck rover ruckman. You know what I mean? And that's what you want from that point of view. And Voss can give him a bit of a chop out if he needs a spell.
Interesting comment you just made there. Jackson should be beating Briggs. Now, Briggs last year was one of the most influential ruckmen in the competition. Remember, late in the season, he just got a few niggles and his form dropped off. But this year, he's been nowhere near that form.
Yeah, can happen. I mean, Bailey Williams did that too, remember, with the West Coast a couple of seasons back. You thought, oh, he's had a really good year. And then all of a sudden, all we heard about was contract talks across the summer, and he hasn't been near it since. You know, and that's the thing, as I say. Like, if you're writing down like, your list of 1 to 10 or 12 of the best ruckmen in the league, well, Briggs, as you say, last year would have been on that list, but he's certainly not this year, whereas Jackson always would figure, you know, behind the likes of Gawn and Darcy Cameron and, you know, others out there. There's been a few injured in the competition. Your boys at Essendon, etc. There's Tim English would be in the list. There's a few there, but he hasn't got anywhere near to what his achievements were last year, Briggs. And as I say, but that's Luke Jackson. That's his role, and that's what they really wanted him to be a bit of a forward. But if they get the midfield right with him, he can always roll forward, as you did a couple of times yesterday, as you saw. So it makes life a lot easier for the rest of the forward six. Well,
he sets a marker now, doesn't he, on that performance? So.
Oh, exactly. They've outed themselves. That's what they continually do. They out themselves, but it's the consistency that they don't have, and that's the problem. And rest assured, as God made little green apples, they'll let you down somewhere along the line.
Well, you know, we spoke about how tough that month could look, and it started off poorly for them against Collingwood. They've beaten GWS over there now. They come home. They've got Port Adelaide at a beautiful time, losing those 3 players.
Well, they should get them.
So they have to nail them next week. And then they've got a real contest with Gold Coast away, then the bye. So, again, I reckon if he nails Port, he's escaped again, JL.
Oh not yet. I mean, as I said, look, it's as I say, you have your good days and you have your bad days, and that's what it's all about. But as I say, one doesn't change makeup. You don't have to look back too far, with St Kilda and a few other things that went really all right, really pear-shaped. So, and the problem with Fremantle has been historically is their back end of the year after the bye. They've always been in healthy positions going into the byes, and they look like they're going to be that again now. But it's after the bye and the run home when things start to get fair dinkum.
Okay, then last night it was just an amazing performance by the Western Bulldogs. 18-19, 127. Abysmal performance by Essendon. As good as the Bulldogs were, Essendon were bad. 5-6, 36.
Well, I just sent you that emoji with your hands over your face for your blokes early last night. You think, God Almighty, they just haven't turned up. And look, I'm going to give the conditioning people at the Dogs a rap here. I mean, because I think you had a stat for me on Friday.
1-5.
1-5. For teams that have come back from Darwin. So they did a lot of rehabilitation, probably refreshing, etc. And they had a little run, and they got it right. And they're playing good footy. And they really got stuck into Essendon early and took the game away from them, so they were never in doubt after that. So that was a good one. They've got a big one coming up on Thursday down there against Bailey Smith and the boys at the Cattery. So, they're going well, the Dogs, and well done to them, but well done to the conditioning staff, because that was... And they made a couple of changes, as you saw. That was needed to be. Bramble ended up being on the bench. Jones came out late and put in another runner, but they didn't really need him in the end. I mean, it was just dominant, and 49 disposals from Bailey Dale. I mean, unbelievable, but again, I mean, you get a few cheapies out of fullback, but more than they should. But that's a marvellous effort to get it 49 times. It just puts the bar a bit high, though, doesn't it, Marty? Going forward, you're probably going to get that again. Yeah,
1,016 metres gained. And the battle in the rucks was interesting. Look, I thought you saw last night that to think Goldstein can ruck all year is folly. Tim English,
too old.
He got. Goldstein 29 hits to 17 Tim English, but English around the ground just said, I'll show you up. 26 possessions, 7 kicks, 19 handballs, and kicked the point. He was terrific around the grounds, and Goldstein just looked his age. He just looked 36, didn't he?
Well, Tim English took his liberties because they were well and truly on top, and he just ran to places where he could be used. as opposed to the stock standard, Percy Johnson, okay, you win the tap out, you drop back at a centre-half back, and you help your back six when you're getting flooded like they were, But Tim was smart enough to stay away from that, and Goldstein did what Goldstein's been doing for a long, long time, and he was just doing that Percy Johnson, okay, right, where's the best for me? I'll get a kick behind the play, but it didn't matter because Inglis became a bit of a conduit for the movement of the ball from back to forward. So it was pretty smart by Tim Inglis on that one.
Yeah, Terry Wallace, Brad Scott did his best, Terry Wallace, to me when he said, how can you go into a game when you have Bontempelli under control and we keep Norton down to a goal and this happens? Well, you nearly throw up, don't you? You nearly throw up.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well,
you
Norton's
didn't
got the
turn
most
up.
inaccurate boot at the moment.
Yeah.
So it was like it wasn't 5,
Yeah.
and the Bont was the Bont. And as
Still
I say,
kicked
and
2.
it's just that, exactly, 20-odd 5 times or something.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. I mean, as I say, deflection 101, that is. We know that. We know that. The Bunsen burner will come. But, look, you and I know, and we've been trying to educate the listeners for a long, long time in regards to this. The best way for you to sort of evaluate how your team's going is the percentage. And have a look at the percentages
81.
of the teams in the top 8 and the ones just out the top 8 and down. So your boys, 81.
Yep.
That's nowhere
Abysmal. 3 games today. We're still trying hard to get hold of TI, but no luck at the moment. We'll get the markets up for these games today. Isn't it amazing, Brad, that we had such a great round of footy last week, and the first game this week up in Darwin was terrific, and I thought yesterday's game at the MCG, but aside from that, wow, we haven't touched on Friday night yet. What are they doing at the SCG on that ground? Who's preparing that?
Well, and the same with NG too yesterday.
NG looked terrible.
It looked like a fair dinkum cattle trucks had been through there, and it is a showgrounds as a rule. And as I say, there's so much competition, Marty, in events, as you do in Perth. But the bottom line is, unfortunately, your main tenets are footy and cricket. So I get it, but make sure that you can re-equip the oval to its finest. Whenever you do this, it's just bizarre. I think what happened with Andrew Bocelli or something the other week.
Was that what it was? Was
the
it?
SCG.
Yeah. Okay.
So, it's just madness.
So, Brad, just to give you an idea of how bad a season the AFL are having, right? This is just another little spot fire that they didn't see coming, is Mars Stadium at Ballarat. Now, they've moved the next game away from there to Marvel Stadium, which was available on that day. But they had to play a game there, which only had 5,000 people in the ground with, loaders and sand pit on that side and tractors and loaders and all that. But they had to go through the exercise first, get absolutely lambasted by anyone who watched it. Anyone in the country said, "What are you doing?" And now we'll make a decision. Really? Yep. They needed to go through the exercise first.
Oh, they're very slow to the party on a lot of things, as we know, and obviously the Schultz one with the umpires, the ground fixturing.
Francis on Friday night. What did you make of that, Brad?
Throwing hand grenades.
Francis on Friday night, Aaron Francis, a week after Schultz.
Yeah, exactly.
It was worse, wasn't it?
It was worse. Yeah, it was 90 seconds before they did. They made a call. It's just ridiculous. I mean, these are the things that the footy department, and no wonder they're under enormous pressure, and people are pushing back and say, "Oh, you gender bias and all of that." It's got nothing to do with that. I don't care what industry you're in, you put the best person in for the job. And there are a lot of females who are absolutely, they run banks, they run insurance companies, they run big companies. Qantas has a female CEO now, which is great. That's all good. They're very qualified and talented people, but at the moment she is struggling. And the clubs keep telling you that, but they're very slow to the party because Richard Goyder in particular, who needs to go from the Football Commission himself, is backing her. And that's why they're going for a COO, because they're trying to create that buffer between Andrew Dillon and of course, Laura Kane, because there's a lot of heat on at the moment, and they just keep getting it wrong.
Yeah. I did have a laugh. So in preparing for our interview today with Stephen Michael, I got the 1975 Waffle Grand Final up, and it says Grand Final Brawl, right?
Yeah.
So, and when you listen to the commentators, what's happened? Who went down? Was it for East Fremantle after half time? Cormac got him, didn't he?
Wayne Cormac, fainted. Yeah.
And
number 17 he was supposed to be number 7.
Yeah. And so, but what happened? He is on the ground just past the centre square here at Subiaco Oval, the centre bounce down area, and there's doctors and first aid men and trainers all around him, and they've let the play go on, and the ball actually comes within about 5 metres of the group. And the commentators are absolutely losing their rag. They're just saying, there's 2 umpires out there. Surely one of them can see he's down. I've gone, well, it hasn't changed much, mate. What's that, 79,
well, that's
1970,
79. Yeah, exactly right.
I've got to say, the brawl that erupted after that was pretty good. Where's the redhead? I can't see him in there. Little Brad.
No, I didn't play that day.
You were there
that day.
No.
I thought about jumping the fence.
Oh, yeah.
But you get to a stage where, as I say, the things sometimes, even though we advanced, we go along with it. I mean, it always used to confuse me too. Like Subiaco Oval, as you see it there. I mean, that grand final had the biggest ever crowd ever. 52,500 people crammed into Subiaco Oval, and then we go and do all these renovations and modifications of the grandstands and on the wing and the city end of the ground, and we can fit in 42.
Yeah. I get it.
That's why we're at Optus.
Yeah.
Now they could fit in 60.
Yeah.
So sometimes the best foot forward is not always the best.
Right. We've got 3 games to look at today. Richmond, a $2.48, North Melbourne, $1.54. Just let me have a look at the fluctuations here. North, 158. So more money today for North, just in, 154, 248. Brisbane, $1.14. They've been backed in, 580 Melbourne. And West Coast, 320. St Kilda, 135. That game hasn't moved much all week.
Well, the best game on paper is Richmond and North because, you've got North Melbourne who scrambled out of the draw last week against the reigning premiers. So if they bring that style of footy and that sort of aggression and the like, it should be good. Now, Richmond had a narrow win over West Coast. The young boys, you're wondering whether they can win 2 on the bounce, and that's the trick because they haven't won that 2 on the bounce for some time, But I think the markets are too far apart. I don't mind the young Cubs. They're going pretty well, but North Melbourne, hopefully with Larkey and LDU and these sort of guys, should be able to get their opportunity today. So I'm leaning slightly towards North Melbourne, but I'm looking forward to that game. Pretty straightforward, the Gabatoir, I would have thought. The Lions should handle Nam or Melbourne, whatever they want to call themselves today. That's all good, and the game over always should be all right too. There's people painting a good chance for the West Coast Eagles. Well, and St Kilda are going okay. They're not going poorly, and look, West Coast will need to address, as we've said in recent weeks, you have to look after Wanganeen Millera, and you also have to look at Sinclair off those halfback flanks. They are 2 very, very, they're Bailey Dale type players. They can get their 30s, off the halfback flank, and that's too many. If a player's getting 49 or 35 or 30 off a halfback flank, that's not good. You need to address that, and West Coast need to be thinking about that today. And it'll just be, I'm going with St Kilda on that one. I think they get it done, but they're short enough at the $1.35. You'd have to borrow money to put it on. Yeah, that is for sure. I believe the West Coast Eagle players have been offered an out if they don't want to play. Obviously the news from the Adam Selwood passing that. The coaches and staff have said if you're not up to playing, that's fine. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. He's been in and around the club. I think he was heavily involved in the AFLW program there for a good while. So, you can understand that. But, I mean, sometimes these things, you're probably better off... for want of a better word, trying to compartmentalise it. And what would Adam want you to do? Well, of course he'd want you to play, and you go out there and you can actually live your best life of your own, playing footy. That's what you do, Monday to Saturday, Sunday, so get out there and have a red hot crack. I think, we all get the sorrow and the mourning of Adam, but, I think he'd want him to be out there. That's what I would be suggesting to those blokes who are considering it. Okay.
rail. Sunshine in Paris moving up to a dangerous trailing position. Benedetta still right with her. Then came at the others Desert Lightning. Lady Laguna hooking wide. Then Payline and V8 in the home straight. Plenty with the chance here. Libertad and Rothfire on the outside. Schwartz Marzu battling on. And now Sunshine in Paris, given a cue, is coming right down the outside. Rothfire's in front. Sunshine in Paris is trying hard. Rothfire and Sunshine in Paris. Sunshine in Paris dropped the lead and won from Rothfire and Payline. Fourth over the line was Benedetta.
Well, there it is, the Doomben 10,000, a timed honoured race, one of the best Group 1s on the national racing calendar, and Rob Archibald joins us to talk about the win of Sunshine in Paris. First off, Rob, congratulations to you and Annabelle.
Thanks very much, guys. It was a huge thrill to win any Group 1s. They're not easy to get, so we were pretty pleased with it.
Rob, congratulations. She's a fabulous performer at the highest level, isn't she?
Yeah, she's an amazing mare. She hasn't been blessed with easy draws all prep, and she's never put in a bad performance. She always puts in 100%, and just pleased for her. You know, she when mares try as hard as she do, it's just nice to get them their head in front. And great way to end the preparation. She's ran well all prep, as I said, and she was fantastic yesterday.
She certainly was, and as you said, bad barriers have dogged her campaign, but this, the way the track played out yesterday, drawing wide was where you wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly, and that probably obviously played into our favour yesterday because we opted to ride her a little bit quieter than we have been, and there was good speed on paper, which sort of panned out, and James obviously gave her a masterful ride. He just knows the right time to produce her, and he got it there to the last 50. So full credit to him. He gets on very well with her, and that's the difference. That's why you want to put him on, because he's so good in those situations.
Rob, free hugs for everybody after the race. Did you feel like you killed Bambi though with Rothfire?
Oh, no, I never worry too much about her. You just want to win. You don't really care who's behind you. But full credit to Rothfire. Amazing performance from him at his age and what he's been through to put in a performance like that. I'm sure the connections would have been thrilled as well. So, look, you just all you worry about is your horse and where you want it to be in the run, and luckily it doesn't often pan out, but luckily it worked out for us yesterday.
Hey Rob, was there a chance the owners wanted to scratch, with the track downgrade, or did you have them convinced that she could win it even on a heavy 8? No,
to John and Deb, they both, after the barrier came out, and John said, "Oh well, I suppose we'll come out, will we?" And Annabelle and James had a good chat, and Annabelle, James and John had a good chat, and they discussed it, and James was probably the one that said, look, I wouldn't worry too much. It's going to be wet, and they're probably going to be coming down the outside, and that's where we want to be. So he sort of had it pretty summed up by Tuesday afternoon, and then he gave a bit of confidence to John and Annabelle, and the decision was made that we'll certainly send her up, and then we'll see how it's panning out. But once she was up there, the decision was to run, and thank God we did.
There was a great movie out many years ago called Pay It Forward, and I think that you and Annabelle in particular were rewarded. Now, you've been doing something this week, raising funds for something. There was a bit of a charity ride or something around. You look like the men and the women from Snowy River.
Well, that's a charity called, it's for the Kids Foundation, but it was Tour de Horse, which is a horse ride that is around the Hunter Valley for 8 days. And we were approached if we wanted to get involved, and we opted to sponsor just one day. And so, we donate some money, and Annabelle rode for the day, and got to know a lot of the kids that are supported. And it's an amazing charity that are doing great things, and it's been really well supported by the racing industry. So full credit to everyone involved. Anto White, who organises the horses, to get 36 horses for everyone to ride safely. It was a pretty remarkable thing, and we were very privileged to be part of it.
She won a
Who else did you have on it? There was Greg Hickman, I think was one. Who else was on
Greg Hickman, I think Ben Mellum and Jamie Carr came up to ride for the day. There was lots of people. The McAvoys were up there sponsoring. Michael Friedman rode. Sam Friedman was riding. So there was a huge representation from the racing industry, and everyone got right behind it.
Just brought memories back. Annabelle's won a Mongol Derby, hadn't she?
She has. She said it did bring back a few Mongolian memories there at one stage. But,
just hacking around the Hunter would be a walk in the park for after that.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's an amazing charity, and it's nice to be part of, things that you can go and support, and it worked out well.
Hey, Rob, take this in the spirit of this men. For every high, there's the occasional low. It wasn't a real low, but did you have your house on written code at the Furlong and down at Scone?
Oh, we'd had the house on it all week, to be honest. We thought that was the perfect race for her, and at the 100 metres, I thought we were
Geniuses.
heading towards the bookies, but Brace just said she just peaked on a run slightly, and look, she put in a great performance. She's Group 2 place. She heads to the mare sales now. She's a really talented mare. And there's plenty more in store for her if someone did decide to buy her. But we've been lucky. We feel like she's one of those ones that we haven't seen the best of her, and we haven't got the best out of her. But it was nice to sort of put in a good performance leading into the mare sale. But I did think she was all but home.
And the other winner, Cormac T, beautifully bred by Nathaniel. There's more wins in store here for this gelding, isn't it?
Without a doubt, yeah. He's only going to get better as he gets over a bit more ground. He's ran well 2 times his prep, nice win, but he'll get out a sort of a mile and a half in time, and he'll be a nice stayer in the making.
Hey, can we go back to the mare now? I'm just reading here. Was she sold as an unraced 2-year-old?
She was, yeah. So she was sold as an unraced 2-year-old, bought for $90,000, I believe.
Yep.
Then raced on and then sold at the mare sale. I think she sold for 3.9. John bought her, and at the time it was a lot of money. And often breeders that pay that sort of money probably just to go and breed from her and start to get some foals back. But he opted to race on, which was good, and she's since won 2 more Group 1s, and I think she's well and truly paid herself off. So it's worked. Yeah, it's been a good result for John and Deb, and we've been the beneficiaries of it, being able to train her, and it's obviously a real privilege to have a mare like her in the stable.
So do you keep it going?
Look, that'll be up to them. At this stage, the plan is to keep going, give her a crack at the Everest. It's going to be a great addition, isn't it, from what looks to be shaping up to be some really smart horses. So the plan is we'll give her a break now, and like always with John and Deb, as long as we're happy with her the whole way through, then she'll probably race on. But if any reason to pull up, then we'll obviously pull up.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting. What do you make of Kaying Rising? Obviously going to be the horse to beat in the market anyway at this stage for an Everest. You must be impressed.
Yeah, hard not to be impressed, isn't he? He's done nothing wrong. He makes his own luck up on speed, and he looks hard to run down. So you can only hope if he comes to Australia that there's a lot more pressure in the first part of the race, and like Australian racing is, you can often have to work hard early, and if he can do it at both ends, then he'll be hard to beat.
Hey Rob, how's Brad's favourite horse Bazusto? How did he pull up after the win last week?
Yes.
Super. God, wasn't that a return to the races? So, he was electric on the Gold Coast over the 1,200 metres, which we a little query on, and the ground. So, should only improve. Probably heads to the BRC Sprint, I think, next, and then he'll go to the Stradbroke. So, that's the plan at this stage, and we'll go from there.
What's the Archibald Horse of the Week to follow?
This week coming up?
Yep. We need one for the punters. Come on.
I haven't even thought about it, to be honest. I'd say going forward though, I think Libertad yesterday, I thought he ran really well considering up to Group 1 company, third up after being off for a long time. I reckon there's a good race in him this time in. And Bazusto, wherever he goes, he'll be hard to beat.
I'm watching you on television at the moment, Rob. You're doing well.
What's that?
I'm watching you on TV at the moment on Sky Thoroughbred Central. How are you doing that?
I don't know.
Did you stay in Queensland or did you head home last night?
No. I came home, so I came home and came back to Warwick Farm where we live, and Annabelle was up in Scone for the day, and she came back as well. So we'll have a little celebration today, I'm sure.
So
and we've actually got our open day today at Warwick Farm, so we're just here getting ready for that. So we'll probably, James McDonald's going to come out, and I'm sure we'll have a drink at the end of the day.
Well done. All the best, Rob.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Well done, Rob.
Thanks very much, boys.
There he goes, Rob Archibald. I think they've had about 23 horses running yesterday between Stone
it's amazing.
and Doomben. Yep.
When you think about them, the Wallers, the Hawks, Ma stable. I mean, it must be incredibly head spinning, to try and keep up with them all. Unbelievable.
Amazing story that.
Got to have good staff.
Oh yeah, amazing story. The mare though, and don't these mares if you get the right types, like Bella Nipotina, she won this race last year.
Yeah,
you can get them in form at that age. They seem to get better, like a good bottle of wine, as they say, but. To have be sold as an unraced 2-year-old for 90,000, bought back, what was it, 2.9 mil, and now going forward for the Camillaries and Fairway, she's going to more than pay that back.
Oh, 100%. It's fantastic. I love those stories, and rags to riches and all of that sort of stuff. And that's why we love the caper, isn't it, Marty? And well done. I know you'll be talking about big bets after the after 8, but geez, what about that little $5 investment someone made yesterday, for instance? That's what I love to hear. Those little ones on there. I think it was the same race multi. I'm just quickly going into that for you, and I can find it here. I think it was the same race multi at Belmont, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Have a look at that. Race
$7,590.
For a $5 outlay, if you don't mind. Western Power to win. Side Duke, Royal Gap, Secret Attire to run a place. Into Speed Dream. And come up with a lazy $1,518 per unit and had $5 on it. That's what we want to see. That's why you should win the Sunday Save. You can have 20 goes at it. Of having a same race multi.
Now, text line is well and truly open. Martin Brad, please discuss with Brad the massive flop by Vandermeer. Are the Bulldogs training with Melbourne Victory to learn how to take a dive? That was absolutely shocking. Now, I missed that. Tell us about it. I'd give it up.
I missed it too. I missed it too. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. I mean, seriously.
They've only won 200.
They've only won by 255,000 points, and, of course, you would have picked that out. That's nice.
It's Rusty Gates. Rusty Gates has come up with one. I was going to ask Stephen a couple of questions. Yeah, okay. One of them was that I had a few mates who are long-suffering Fremantle supporters who expressed to a man that Fremantle should have stayed in Fremantle and not set up their administration and training-based facility at Coburn Central, far removed from the grassroots supporters in Fremantle. The other question on a more serious note is, why was Stephen called T.I. when after all he came from Kojonup? Maybe, Brad, you can give us an opinion on my first question and then a reason why the second.
Yeah, look, I think there's still a little bit of agreement. A bit aggrieved, still people, because when Fremantle began, and it was, let's face it, it was a fair bit of rattling tins and, Walter Robert Mormel and George Gulisic and those type of people really had to work hard to try and get the locals involved, and particularly the Cappuccino strip, as Rusty suggested, and they sort of got left behind, by moving out to Coburn. It's become a bit of a white elephant. Great facilities, allegedly supposed to be a community thing, as they all are, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, but I think there is a push still that they'd like to get Fremantle back into Fremantle. I think that would be really, really good. And there was room to do it too. I mean, there's ground renovations going on shortly at Fremantle. It's a perfect surface. There was the old silver chain behind the club rooms there. There was plenty of space they could have utilised, but they chose to go out to Coburn. And some people aren't happy and still aren't happy and would like to see it go back to Fremantle.
Okay, another one here, Greg L. Just a welfare check after last night's thumping by the Bulldogs, Marty. Being an Eagles supporter, I know how you're feeling this morning. That is Greg L. Thanks for checking in on me, Greg. You're a great man. No, we're going okay.
In all seriousness, do that, though. Let's do that, though.
Yeah, exactly. No, the die was cast at quarter time. The die was cast at quarter time, so off went the tally, and we played a nice game of cards. It was beautiful. Lisa of Allen.
Couldn't put yourself through the agony.
Exactly. Guys, have you rung missing persons to TI? Where are you? Look.
That's unbelievable to TI. I don't know what he's happened to him.
Yeah, Brad, the flag mantle gravy train is on again. Have a great day and week. Cheers, Lisa of Ellenbrook. Yeah, we've tried our hardest, but these things happen. Give it a good boom up, and it just didn't quite happen. Here's an interesting one you may not remember. I had this one ready to go for TI. In 1986, you may not all remember this, but the Boulder City Football Club, who had lost their first 4 or 5 games of the year under, Max Viskovich was the big sponsor up there. He was Goldfield's Toyota equivalent, Auto Villa Toyota it was called, and Big Maxi. So he didn't like the way the Tigers were going, and he got Stephen Michael on a big contract, flew him up, flew him back, in and out. And before he announced it, a bookmaker up there by the name of Phil Gillam, the late, great Phil Gillam, one of the funniest guys you'd ever meet, was betting on the footy out of the Piccadilly Hotel. And Max has got him and backed Boulders to win the flag. Now they're 0 from 5 at this stage, right? Or they might be 1 from 5. And he's backed them to win them for 20 grand to win the flag off Gillam. And all of a sudden, the next couple of days, he announces that Stephen Michael's coming up to play for Boulders, and they duly were able to win the flag. Turned it around, and Russell Dickard had moved from Railways to Boulders, and they got the money. And I think they actually beat Railways. I reckon it was at Sir Richard Moore. Any Goldfielders listening in, text in 0427 789 571 and straighten me up on that one if you can. But, so TI went up there and played in a winning grand final for the Boulder City Football Club, Brad. Yeah,
I mean, success followed him around. No way, and he made it happen. That was the main reason it followed him around, But he was a sensational character and, 211 games straight. For South Fremantle, which was like the preceding Jimmy Stein sort of thing. And now the Jack Chris, 200. To do that, it's quite... And a couple of times we thought, we're going to have to add water here. We nearly cremated him twice. He had a car accident on a Friday morning, and we thought he won't play tomorrow. Sure enough, there he was with a pie and chips before the game, ready to go. And then he went roo shooting with his mates and got some buckshot in the back of his leg. We thought surely he can't play, but he run it up again and he played best on ground.
Jeez. When you have I've been watching the 79, 80, 81 grand finals, as I said, they were willing affairs. I just got the feeling Benny Vagona and Phil Cracker sort of never saw eye to eye.
No, I didn't like each other. I think that was fair to say, and I get on well with Phil and certainly Jimmy. I love Jimmy as well, but Jimmy got saved by TI that particular day because Basil took out Barry Beecroft in the first bounce, and Jimmy wanted to have a bit of part of Basil, which was always a little bit fraught with danger anyway. But and TI had hold of Jimmy around the waist and pinning his arms, and so he couldn't let him go because Jimmy was good at it. And Basil wound up with the biggest uppercut you've ever seen, and TI pulled him to the side, and it went through, and because lucky poor old Jimmy's head would have been on Mars.
It's all clearly. Get on YouTube and watch it. You can see it. It's fascinating stuff. We're talking about Kalgoorlie, and they've got a great race meeting up there today, a 7-eventer, and Kyra Yuill is one of the stars who's riding up there, and she joins us right now. Hi, Kyra.
Yeah, guys, how are you?
Yeah, we're good. You're heading up to the Goldfields again where you've ridden so many winners. You must love getting up there this time of the year.
Yeah, well, last year I didn't do that well there and didn't go there that often and didn't expect it to start so well this season. But, yeah, the season started off strong. Terrific.
Let's run through your rides. You're riding High Pressure, who you won on last start for Brett Jury. Always shown a bit of ability, this horse, and doesn't look a bad race for him in the first.
Yeah, no, the other day it was really suited with the hot speed. So I don't know if they'll quite go as quick as the other day, but hopefully they've got the speed on again today, and hopefully we'll be hitting the line just as strong.
Small but select field, all the same, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Those open class races haven't been the biggest field, so hopefully as the season goes on, a few more horses come into the open class races.
Okay, David Smith's got a good little team of horses in there today, and he's got Sweet Eyes in race number 2 for the Cosgroves. You know much about this?
Yeah, no, I don't know much about this horse. I've never ridden it before, but Strawn Barrier 1, which is always a nice gate in Kalgoorlie, so we can jump it out and ride it positive, and it's been thereabouts, so it's knocking on the door, and hopefully today's a stay.
Back for Brett Drury in race number 3, a Weem away, edging very closer to a win. You've been on it the last 2 for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, it's one of those horses that just always finds one horse better than it. There is one horse in it that goes all right again today. That's also been consistent, but. Yeah, it's got the consistent form and it is knocking on the door. So if it gets the right run, it'll win its race. But, yeah, just whether it finds that one better again.
Is it a little tricky early from barrier 7, or what's your thoughts going? Do you want to be forward or back?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I just sort of ride it how it jumps and see how the race pans out. It's pretty versatile horse. I would prefer to have an inside gate and be able to be positive on it. But, yeah, from that sticky gate, I definitely have to just see how it jumps. And if we end up a bit further back, then that's how we've got to run our race.
Okay, race number 4, you're riding Sure Thing for David Smith's. Had 2 runs. It's had a little bit of a break after it won those races in Esperance. Like it won those races like it was going to be a city horse. They did have a crack at a race in the city running 4th, and then ran second to Troublemaker last start, who was a favourite yesterday here in Perth and failed, but likes to lead out in front. Is he ready to win, Sure Thing?
Yeah, definitely. I think that run in town, when he took it to town, was a huge run. I probably chased the tearaway leader a little bit too hard. And the other day was a super run, just first up over the 1200, probably felt the peak, and a good horse beat it. A horse that can win a nice Saturday race.
Yes.
Beat it. So, today, it's had that one run, dropping back to the 1100. Love Drunk Baby's out, which is quite a positive for me. We'll ride him positive once again. He's a big, strong horse. And hopefully today he's going over the line in front.
He's one of those horses who can lead and keep up a very fast pace and show toughness at the end. We go to race number 5. You get you link up with Peter Fernie here with Dublin Red.
No, I'm not on Dublin Red.
Aren't you? Oh, sorry.
Red.
Sorry about that. You're with Gary Bowen.
Margot's
Bullseye. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't know much about this horse, but it run the other day was a good run. Sits up on the speed. There's a little bit of speed in the race, so hopefully we'll be able to be just behind that hot tempo and, hitting the line a little bit stronger than the other day, but third up, so it should just hopefully improve a little bit more.
Geez, breeding's got anything to do with it. It's an ex-Eastern State, or I'm invincible out of a fastnet rock mare. It's well bred.
Yeah,
exactly. Into race number 6, Scottish Laird for Ricky Brown. You're jumping onto this after it's won its last 2. You won on it, and then Tash Faithful won on it last start.
Yeah. It was going to run a different race last start, and unfortunately they changed their mind, and I already had a ride, so missed out on that winner on him. But he's over the mile again, which I don't think is a problem for him. But the other day it was a small field, barrier 1, and he just got the pie run. So today's a little bit more sticky from barrier 10.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think he's a horse who sort of just, I'll ride him how he jumps and then make my decision, a few strides out of the gate.
From there, yep.
Yeah, I don't think he's suited going as forward as he did the other day, but victim of circumstances, that's why he got ridden like that.
Yep.
But then, you don't really want to get too far back. So he's a sticky horse to ride from that gate, so we'll make our decision when we land.
And the last of the day for Brett Drury, Mariah. You might not know too much about this horse, but it has again come up with a sticky barrier at 10.
Yeah. This horse probably does need to improve a little bit on its form. As you say, the sticky gate doesn't help, but this one's one I'll probably have a chat to Brett and see what he says. But on his form, it definitely needs to improve a little bit.
Hey, Kyra, can I just add, going back to Friday, I love your work ethic. Albany Friday, Kalgoorlie today. Oh, I'm a big fan of yours and the Baylor stable, and Panthera Tiger went all the way. Unbelievable. Fantastic.
It we didn't exactly run home in the fastest sectionals over those mile maidens, but yeah, he definitely toughed it out, and hopefully that means he'll get up over the 2,000 metres looking forward.
Hey, Kyra, got a text just come in on the text line. Yuill on Gary Bowens in 5 should win. So there you go. There's a text. Somebody knows something.
All right, we'll take that, and we'll be doing our best. And I hope that text is right.
Is your thing your best?
I think, yeah, definitely. It's pretty hard to knock him down.
Okay. Thanks, Kyra. All the best. Thanks for coming on.
Kyra.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Got to get a Sunday saviour off you, Bradley, for Retrovision.
Well, I'm going to put one in. They're a bit slow on the market today, but let's go to Parks Race 1. Amoroso, Tony Amoroso, even money. It'll be winning today. Don't worry about that, Marty. Then we'll go to Sapphire Coast Race 4, number 4, Craft, $2.25. And Sale Race 5, number 2, Tishman at $1.60. So $2 for Amoroso, $2.25 for Craft, $1.60 for Tishman, $7.20. I was hoping to throw Sure into the market, but I haven't been able to get a price for it today. So, yeah,
okay,
$7.20 for mine.
You've been very good again. Thanks for coming on the program for Retrovision and, of course, Loans 1, 2, 3.
All the best, mate.